YouTube, what it do, loved ones? You know the motto. If you can, after the story, go over there, hit me with a like, which is the thumbs up, and that'll let me know I'm kicking my stuff. This right here, homie, is sensitive content, but it's reality, homie. It's the truth, homie. You know, come along with the street life and it's banging. The young homeboy asked me, how was it like banging with the big homeboys, OG homeboys, and maybe a founder or two during the smoking era, homie, during the Brack pandemic, homie. You know, how was it? You know, he told me it had to be in kind of like the caveman and dinosaurs, you know, prehistoric, you know what I'm saying? And historic. And I had to tell him, yeah, it was, homie. And to kind of just, you know, kick around a brief analysis on how it was banging with the OG homies during the Brack pandemic thing, homie, from what I can remember. So, homie, at that time, homie, I really wasn't hipped on who was smoking and who wasn't smoking when I first came on board to the neighborhood Power Rules, homie. You know, everybody had knew about crack, you know what I'm saying, through commercials, through the DARE program, through school, and, you know, family members and older friends. We kind of knew about it. But as time sped up and we joined these clubs, homie, you know what I'm saying, we joined these street hood clubs, homie. Like I said, we didn't know who was getting down or what, homie. Cause you knew to the fashion, homie, coming up young. Now what I did know, homie, we started hustling work, homie. We started hustling work, you know, dudes and my peers, we hustling work. You know, at a young age, dog. And like I said, everybody had their own movement on how they calculated their moves and did their thing. Some things was hideable, homie, you know, you didn't know. And then you did have some homies that was just out the ordinary, you know, but we really didn't, you know, we knew, and some of them will probably come through and get something from somebody else, but I wasn't particularly, or the dudes that I hung with, we wasn't particularly serving these dudes, possibly at this time, homie. And then you had some homies, like I said, that'll come through with the extras, you know, and moving fast. Back then, that narcotic used to have the homies moving fast, homie. You know, some dudes couldn't stay still. And like I said, we was kind of younger, so certain homies would hit them. And and homies would be like, oh, that's such and such from the hood, or that's such and such from somewhere else. And, you know, these dudes would be moving and looking around and doing little stuff, and we'd be like, you know, we thought it was funny. You know, other, you know, younger dudes, we probably thought it was funny. Might laughed. And this was going around like in, you know, every turf was experiencing it, homie. And later to come to find out, the generation before me that kind of planted, if it wasn't for them dudes and probably some more dudes in the generation that I am and above me, this shit hit every neighborhood. Homie, damn near wipe niggas' neighborhoods out. You know, if it wasn't for niggas that was over me in a generation, a lot of hoods would have been wiped out, homie. You know, because a lot of homies went through that pandemic, homie. You know what I'm saying? That Brack pandemic era, homie. And it shook hoods, it rippled turfs, homie. You know, and it didn't hit heavy right at one time. It took time to tear at some homies, homie. So anyway, homie, when I really started formatting that homies from my turf, different other turfs was getting down, dudes would split and go to different turfs, homie. Some dudes wouldn't just really feel comfortable. They called it fucking up, with just fucking up inside they turfs, homie. So some homies would go to other turfs where other homies was kind of, it might be an older B-Dog hood or something, had more compassion than a later bloomer turf, homie, that really ain't feeling this type of stuff like that's going on with homies getting high and shit. So anyway, homie, to keep pushing into my brief analysis on smoking, homie, smoking, like I said, once we started getting a whiff and knowing homie smoking and really getting laced on it, homie, we started hearing horror stories about some of these dudes, homie. Because you got to remember, homie, some of these dudes was penitentiary legends. Some of these dudes was getting cracking. Some of these dudes was jacking, pistol packing, and just acting a fool out here, homie. So once some of the big homies and OG homies got up under the intoxication, the ones that did get up under the influence of the intoxication of that motherfucking brat, they went on one, homie. Cause so the way these dudes was banging before the dudes got a hold of this, and this was what they taste buds craved, homie. They was riders, homie. So once they got a hold of a drug that's altering your thinking and enhances the way you want to program, these dudes was jacking homies, robbing homies, all kind of stuff was happening, homie, on different homies' watches, homie, horror stories, homie. It might have been a few homies that might have lost their lives by the homies from different turfs and their own turfs, not Usalam, not really watching over them during the dangerous times when that crack hit the scene, homie. Because homies Usalama went out the door. All kind of shit went out the door. You had people from all areas coming into different hoods, homie. So homies was getting caught slipping, homie. You might have had a homie or two get caught slipping and lose their lives inside their turfs from the Brack era, homie. So now homies like me, we coming up, we hearing these horror stories. We seeing some of the G homies, the G homies was still on. It wasn't like now, homie. So some of these dudes that was smoking and puffing dope back then, them dudes still ran around, homie, with 18s and a half, 19s, 20s, and 22-inch arms, homie. I didn't seen it, homie. Dudes from different B-Dog corps, homie. And like I said, we hearing these stories, whether they true or false, homie. Every hood got horror stories, homie. And like I said, some of the big homies that was under the intoxication of this, these dudes were some evil dudes. Some of them dudes could be mean dudes, homie, like Debo dudes, homie. And it kind of built the generation that was up under them. It kind of made us harden to be hardcore against them, because these dudes was getting down foul under the influence, homie. They was being untrustworthy. They was stealing from us. They was stealing gats from us when we was the young homies holding down the turf, homie, still trying to hold the hood down, while some of the homies was going through they illnesses with puffing, homie. You know what I'm saying? We was still out there trying to thug it and keep the hood popping, when some of the homies had to go through a spell, then wait till some of them clean up and get back out on the line with us, homie. Or some dudes was, not all homies from hoods indulge, homie. But a lot of them did from different hoods, homie. And then it got like paperwork, because you still had homies of hella stature that was getting high, that was still trying to push a line, homie. Because them dudes was still getting cracking, homie. Like I said, these dudes had left prison yards wearing flags and cherried up flags on their head. Been in the streets doing it. So some of these dudes would be under the influence of the crack, homie. Flamed the fuck up. Still busting, running to the spots and taking hits, telling young homie, blood, turn y'all heads, blood, excuse me, blood, and blowing out smoke and shit, homie. And kind of demanding how the shit should go. So homies that wasn't under the influence, wasn't getting high, was saying like, fuck them niggas, homie, you know? And that shit kind of started the division because some of us loved some of the big homies of stature that might have fell off. We still was a part of these niggas' crews and shit. So these niggas could still call a fucked up dog possibly under the influence in different turfs, homie. So that shit sabotaged the game and had homies in confusion, homie. And like I said, with the homies stealing, jacking pistols and shit, it built us up to have to go against some of these homies, homie. And some of these homies were squabblers and all that. We couldn't mix all the big homies, because some of the big homies still had pistols on them, still had chunkums. But a lot of homies, we had to build our hearts, and it still hurt us. Some of the niggas in my generation and era to this day, it hurt us because we had to move on a lot of the G homies. We had to move on a lot of the G homies, homie, because we was at war season, and when we was running the spots, getting pistols and shit gone, but we not knowing we can't trust the big homies, dog. We not knowing we can't serve these niggas and tuck our works back here. We not knowing we can't serve these niggas and show these niggas where we putting our gas at, homie. So it caused us to fight some of the big homies, to rush some of the legendary big homies, homie. And like I said, some of them was on a low time with banging. So, you know, that's what it was. We had to mix them. A lot of them fought us back. A lot of them waited till they rehabilitated and came back and tried to fade some of us. But that just was part of the G code and what was going on back then, homie. And then, like I said, some of the G homies, homie, they used to have fake work. They used to call it doulo, or some work wasn't that good. And I can recall homies serving some of the OG homies. Like I said, I won't mention no names because a lot of homies is rehabilitated and doing good, and I'm proud of it. It's from all jurisdictions, homie. But I remember a time the homies had hit some OG homies with some narcotic that wasn't really all that, homie. And I remember being on a 500 block and the OG homies coming back. I think it was me, Tricky, a big 211 PIP, a little Spider, a few more homies. And I remember OG homies coming back, pushing the line about how niggas served them, homie. It was improper, inaccurate, and it wasn't decent. And the G homies went on one, firing on niggas, pulled the knife out, stabbed one of the homies, homie. They straight tripped on the young homies about some brack, homie. So that shit was hell of a homie. That shit was hell of a homie, like I said. And it was like an enhancement to them dudes, homie. So it was still scrimmaging, still active, because like I said, a lot of these dudes held power and still try to push that shit under the influence against homies that wasn't, homies, solid homies that wasn't getting down preaching the proper gospel to us. So it started a confusion, homie. But that's just a brief rundown on, homie, on how it was when the homies was pulling back in the days versus to the homies that wasn't, homie. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of homies that did kind of see the big homies doing things that wasn't proper. Some dudes, you know, picked up the habit, homie, but it wasn't for a lot of dudes, homie. And you know, but a lot of dudes that did pick up that habit, a lot of people weren't able to come back from that, homie. We lost a lot of good homies from different generations that couldn't come back from being under the influence of the brack narcotic, homie. And I tell all young homies, homie, you know, if you can stay sober and smoke tweed and drink, homie, just do that, homie. Don't dig further, homie, because there's no possibility you can come back from some of these hardcore drugs, homie. 89 on up, G stuff, not E stuff. And I'm just sending it, homie, on how it was kind of back in them early 90s, 89, 90, seeing some homies smoking, homie. They was on swole still. Dudes were still wearing flags, banged out, staying clean, homie, strapped down, kicking up activities, homie. And we did have to rush some of the OG homeboys that was legendary and G'd up due to principles, homie, of stealing gas, stealing work, and all kind of shit, homie, jacking homies and pushing a fucked up agenda against some of us, homie. They forced us to have to stay down, homie. You know, to have to protect ourselves because we didn't heard horror stories of these dudes, homie, and shit like that. So I'm just sharing my personal analysis opinion on the crack era, homie, inside turf, what I seen coming up. And when I was young, homie, we used to kind of, once I really got hipped on how it go, we used to monetize homies when they was coming out the penitentiary, seeing how niggas carry themselves, if niggas finna relapse or if niggas finna what, because we loved a lot of our OG homeboys. We wanted niggas to stay solid and firm, homie. And shout out to all the G Damus, homie, that overcame that craving of that bullshit, homie, to get back on solid foundation, get back in their families' lives, get back in the turf's lives, and get back in homeboys that love y'all lives, homie. 89 on up. G stuff, not ye stuff. And I'm out, homie.